Somewhere in Las Vegas right now, a theater sits dark. The seats are empty, dust on the armrests, programs scattered on the floor from a show that ended months ago, maybe years ago. The spotlight lenses are fogged, the curtain hasn't moved in so long it's starting to sag, and the only sound is the echo of applause that will never come again. This is what happens when Vegas kills a show. 10 shows, thousands of performers, billions of dollars invested, and every single one of them canceled forever. We're starting with a show that lasted 13 weeks. We're ending with one that changed what Las Vegas meant to the world. And somewhere in between, you're going to watch a $100 million disaster, a corporate betrayal, and a tragedy that ended in 30 seconds. Let's go. Number 10, Bat Out of Hell, the musical Paris, Las Vegas, September 2022 to January 1st, 2023. 13 weeks. That's all it got. This was Jim Steinman's rock opera, Meat Loaf's legacy, set to pyrotechnics and power ballads. The cast was incredible, the reviews were glowing. Vegas critics called it everything a production show should be. But here's the thing about great reviews, they don't sell tickets. The Paris theater has been cursed for years. Show after show has died in that room, and Bat Out of Hell became another ghost in the graveyard. Final performance, New Year's Day 2023. Here's the brutal irony. Meat Loaf died in January 2022. The tribute show honoring his legacy couldn't survive 12 months, 13 weeks. That's all Bat Out of Hell got. But the next show on our list, it didn't even get 13 days. Number 9, Black Eyed Peas. 3008, A Space Odyssey, Planet Hollywood, February 2025. This show never opened. September 2024, they announced it with massive fanfare. 15 shows at PH Live, 7,000 seats per night. Willie told the press they were going to reinvent how they perform. Disney Rides meets AI meets Las Vegas spectacle. Tickets went on sale. Fans bought flights, January 19th, 2025. An Instagram story, that's how fans found out. Due to current circumstances, our Las Vegas shows will not be moving forward as planned. Current circumstances, that's the only explanation anyone ever got. No apology, no rescheduling, just gone. This is Vegas now. Shows announced with fanfare, canceled with an Instagram story. Black Eyed Peas never made it to opening night, but the next show actually opened, with $100 million behind it. Custom theater, giant props, Cirque du Soleil's name on the marquee. That made the failure so much worse. Number 8, Viva Elvis, Aria Resort, February 2010 to August 2012. The logic seemed bulletproof. Take the biggest icon in Vegas history, pair him with the biggest production company in Vegas history. Elvis Presley meets Cirque du Soleil, how could it miss? They built a custom theater at the brand new Aria, 16 moving platform stages, a 50-foot video screen, and a 7,000-pound blue suede shoe suspended from the ceiling. Because subtlety was never the point. Opening night, the energy was electric. Critics praised the acrobatics, the dancing, the reimagined soundtrack, but something was off. The show felt more Broadway than Cirque, more narrative than spectacle, and Cirque was competing with itself. 7 resident shows in Vegas, all fighting for the same tourists. Audiences who wanted acrobatics went to O. Audiences who wanted music went to Beatles Love. Viva Elvis got the leftovers. By 2012, tickets were discounted everywhere. November 2011, MGM quietly asked Cirque to replace it. August 31st, 2012. Final performance. Elvis left the building for good. $100 million, 2.5 years, and a 7,000-pound shoe that nobody talks about anymore. But here's the thing, at least Viva Elvis had Cirque's reputation to fall back on. The next show on our list nearly destroyed that reputation. A $100 million partnership that turned into a public feud. Celebrity bloggers tweeting insults from the audience, and the star of the show firing back from the stage. That's coming up next. Number 7, Criss Angel Believe, Luxor, October 2008 to April 2016, $100 million. That's what they spent. Cirque du Soleil partnered with the self-proclaimed magician of the century. Custom front 600-seat theater, gothic set design. Criss Angel told reporters he'd been developing this show for 15 years. Opening night was Halloween 2008. By December, tickets were 40% off. The reviews were brutal, not enough magic, too much Criss Angel talking about himself. Cirque fans felt cheated, Magic fans felt bored, and then Perez Hilton showed up. April 2009, the celebrity blogger sits in the audience. 20 minutes in, he starts tweeting to his 500,000 followers, quote, "We are 20 minutes in, and Criss Angel's Vegas show Believe is unbelievably bad." The show ends. Criss Angel spots him in the crowd, calls him out from the stage. "We have the world's biggest douchebag in the house." Hilton's response, "Thanks for the free tickets." That moment went viral. The show became a punchline. But here's the thing about Criss Angel, he doesn't quit. They revamped the show, added 30 new illusions, more magic, less monologue, and somehow, through sheer stubbornness, he kept it running for 8 years. Final show, April 17th, 2016. Criss Angel fought for 8 years to keep his show alive. The next performer on our list had an even longer run, 16 and a half years. But he found out it was over the same morning it ended. Number 6, Terry Fator, The Mirage, then The Strat, 2009 to September 2025. In 2007, Terry Fator won America's Got Talent, a ventriloquist who could sing in 100 different voices. Simon Cowell called him the most successful contestant they'd ever had. By 2008, he had a $100 million contract with The Mirage. They named the theater after him. 11 years of sold-out shows. Then the pandemic hit. The Mirage didn't renew his contract. He moved to a tiny room at New York, 300 seats, less than a quarter of what he had before. Then The Strat, smaller crowds, struggling ticket sales. September 23rd, 2025. 4 in the morning. A PR firm sends out a press release. Terry Fator's final show will be that night. Same day announcement, same day closing. 16 and a half years, over 3,000 shows, and he found out it was ending the same morning the rest of us did. His producer said it a month earlier. Quote, "Most of our shows are about 15 to 20% down. It's pretty brutal out there." Brutal, that's the word. Terry Fator at least got to say goodbye. One final show, one last bow, but the next show on our list didn't even get that. It was killed overnight, and 7.25 million people never got to see it again. Number 5, Zumanity, New York, September 2003 to November 2020. This was Cirque du Soleil's only adults-only production. The sensual side of Cirque, burlesque, and aerial acrobatics. Performers in the aisles, close enough to touch. Intimate lighting, sequins, and feathers. The show that made date night in Vegas feel dangerous again. 17 years, over 7,700 performances, 7.25 million guests walked through those doors. March 14th, 2020. Final show, nobody knew it was the final show. COVID shut everything down. November 16th, 2020. Cirque makes the announcement, Zumanity is permanently closed. No revival, no farewell tour, no chance to say goodbye. The CEO released a statement, quote, "We are forever grateful to the extraordinarily talented cast, crew, and staff. Grateful, past tense, because they were all out of work. Zumanity was the first major Vegas production permanently killed by COVID, but it wasn't the biggest. The next show won Best Production Show in Las Vegas 9 years in a row, and when it died, 275 people lost their jobs in a single afternoon." Number 4, Jubilee, Bally's, July 1981 to February 2016, 35 years. The longest running production on the Las Vegas Strip. Picture it, a line of women walking across the stage. 20-pound headdresses made of ostrich feathers and rhinestones. Costumes designed by Bob Mackie. Fishnet stockings. Sequins catching the light like scattered diamonds. This was the Vegas showgirl, not a dancer, an icon. Jubilee opened in 1981 at the original MGM Grand. The hotel had just been rebuilt after a devastating fire, and Don Arden's Showgirl Spectacular became the symbol of Vegas rising from the ashes. For decades, this was what people pictured when they thought of Las Vegas entertainment. The feathers, the legs, the impossible elegance of women walking under crushing weight while climbing multi-level sets and hitting every mark perfectly. In 2009, Les Folies Bergère closed after 50 years. That left Jubilee as the last one. The final showgirl review in Las Vegas. February 11th, 2016. Final curtain. Bally's kept the costumes, stored them at the theater. Quote, in hopes of a future revival. That revival never came. The costumes are still there, gathering dust. 400 pieces of Vegas history locked in a room nobody opens. A former Jubilee performer said it best, quote, "Vegas is going to be losing a big part of history." She was right. When Jubilee closed, the Vegas showgirl as we knew her ceased to exist. You can still see women in feathers posing for photos on the strip, but the real thing, the living, breathing art form, gone. Jubilee took 35 years to die. The next show took 15, but when it ended, performers called it the most loved production show in Las Vegas. The word they used to describe finding out? Devastated. Number 3, Rêve, Win Las Vegas, 2005 to August 2020. The theater alone cost $75 million. An aquatic theater in the round, 1.1 million gallons of water. Deepest point, 27 feet. Performers diving from 80 feet above the surface. Every single cast member scuba certified before they could set foot on stage. No seat was more than 40 feet from the action. 90 performers, 250 cast and crew, 16 full-time divers spending the entire show submerged beneath the stage. Le Rêve means the dream in French, and for 15 years, it delivered. Best production show in Las Vegas, 9 consecutive years. That's not an opinion, that's the Southern Nevada Concierge Association voting it number 1, year after year after year, over 6,000 performances. Critics called it one of the top 2 shows in Vegas. Quote, "I've seen every production show on the Strip in 20 years. Le Rêve was without a doubt my favorite. It delivered the wow factor." March 2020. COVID shuts down the Strip. August 14th, 2020. Friday afternoon, cast and crew log into a digital conference call. When entertainment director Rick Gray delivers the news, Le Rêve is permanently closed. Effective immediately, 275 employees lost their jobs that afternoon. One conference call, 15 years of excellence. Gone. A Vegas blogger wrote about that day. Quote, "The word devastated took on a whole new meaning at 4 p.m. today. The theater still exists. There's a new show in there now called Awakening, but Le Rêve's pool, the 1.1 million gallons that made the show possible, empty. The aquatic theater in the round that cost $75 million is now just a theater. Le Rêve was killed by a virus. Nobody's fault, just terrible timing and an impossible situation. But the next show on our list, it wasn't killed by a virus. It was killed by a corporation. After 18 years, after 11.8 million fans, after becoming the only licensed Beatles production in the world, Cirque's CEO had to stand on stage before the final performance and say 5 words. This wasn't our decision. Number 2, the Beatles Love, The Mirage, June 2006 to July 7th, 2024. This show existed because of a friendship. Guy Laliberté, the founder of Cirque du Soleil, was close with George Harrison, 2 creative minds who understood spectacle. When Harrison passed away in 2001, that friendship became a mission: create something that honored the Beatles, something that had never been done before. George Martin agreed to help, the man they called the 5th Beatle, the producer who shaped every album from Please Please Me to Abbey Road. He and his son Giles went into the archives. 130 songs, they isolated vocals, stripped tracks down to individual instruments, rebuilt everything from scratch. The result was a 26-track soundtrack unlike anything that existed. The only Cirque album to ever win a Grammy. The Mirage built a custom theater, 6,000 speakers surrounding the audience, a 360-degree stage, and in the lobby, the only licensed Beatles retail store in the world. June 2006. Opening night, Paul McCartney was there, Ringo Starr was there, Yoko Ono, Olivia Harrison, the surviving Beatles and the widows of the fallen, all in one room, watching their legacy transformed into light and sound and bodies flying through the air. For 18 years, this show delivered moments that broke people. A day in the life. A young boy representing John Lennon dreams of his mother, watches her die, and as the song ends, a clock on stage winds backward, stops at exactly 10 minutes to 10, the exact moment Lennon was shot outside the Dakota. The finale. All you need is love. red confetti raining from the rafters, the entire cast circling the stage, flashing peace signs, singing along, audiences crying, every single night, 7,813 performances, 11.8 million guests, 18 years of magic. Then Hard Rock bought the Mirage. December 2022. The deal closes. Everyone assumes the show will keep running. The theater's not going anywhere. The audience is still showing up. April 9th, 2024. Cirque executives learn the truth. Hard Rock needs to demolish the theater. Renovations start this summer. The show has to close by July 7th. They found out late last week. That's what the CEO said. Late last week, 230 cast and crew members, 18 years of their lives, and they got a few months notice because a corporation needed the real estate. July 7th, 2024. Final performance. It was also Ringo Starr's 84th birthday. Before the show, CEO Stéphane Lefebvre walked onto the stage, looked at the sold-out crowd, said 5 words. "This wasn't our decision." The show began. Because those isolated harmonies, the ones George Martin pulled from the original tapes, voices from 60 years ago filling a room that would be demolished within the year. 90 minutes later, the finale. All you need is love. But this time, rose petals instead of confetti. Cast members holding hands. The applause grew to what one reporter called a deafening, almost inconceivable roar. Grown performers cried. The Mirage closed 10 days later, July 17th, 2024. The building will be demolished. Hard Rock Hotel Las Vegas rises in its place. The theater, the store, the 6,000 speakers, all of it, gone. Here's the cruel part. In its final months, Beatles Love was only running at 60% capacity. Ticket sales had softened, but the moment they announced the closure, sold out. Every night for 3 months straight. The show was struggling, and Hard Rock killed it anyway. Circuit confirmed there will be no reboot, no tour, no future partnership with the Beatles catalog. The only licensed Beatles production in the world is gone forever. This wasn't our decision. That's what happens when someone else owns your theater. You build something for 18 years, and then a corporation decides they need the space. But we've saved the biggest story for last. A show that ran for 13 years, that grossed $500 million, that didn't just play at the Mirage. It was the Mirage. The reason the hotel existed in the first place, and it all ended in 30 seconds. When a 380-pound white tiger grabbed a man by the throat and dragged him off the stage. Number 1. Siegfried and Roy, The Mirage, February 1990 to October 3rd, 2003. They met on a cruise ship in 1957. Siegfried Fischbacher was a steward who did magic tricks for passengers. Roy Horn was a bellboy who loved exotic animals. Siegfried asked Roy to join his act. Roy brought a cheetah. For the next 30 years, they built something nobody had ever seen. Magic and animals fused into pure spectacle. White tigers, white lions, illusions that defied explanation. They performed across Europe, Monte Carlo, the Stardust, the Frontier. Then Steve Wynn came calling, 1989. Wynn is building the Mirage, the most expensive resort in the history of Las Vegas. He needs a headliner. He signed Siegfried and Roy to a 5-year, $57.5 million contract, builds them a custom $30 million theater, 1,500 seats. Quote, probably the most expensive show in the history of the world at the time it was built. They delivered 5,750 performances over 13 years, 12 shows a week, 100% occupancy. By 1999, the show had grossed $500 million. They were the highest paid entertainers in Las Vegas. Hollywood Walk of Fame, magazine covers, a legacy that defined what Vegas entertainment could be. Steve Wynn said it himself. Quote, they were the face of the Mirage, the identity of that hotel. October 3rd, 2003. The night before was Roy's 59th birthday party, 500 guests, dancing until late. The next evening, he walked on stage for the 8 o'clock show. 45 minutes in, Roy led out. Manticore, a 7-year-old white tiger, 380 pounds. Something was wrong. The tiger moved toward the audience instead of hitting his mark. Roy stepped between Manticore and the front row, gave the command to lie down. The tiger didn't listen. Roy tapped him on the nose with the microphone. Manticore grabbed his wrist, then lunged. The tiger's jaws closed around Roy's neck and dragged him off the stage. Trainers discharged a fire extinguisher, jammed their fingers into the tiger's mouth, finally got him to release. Massive blood loss, a stroke, partial paralysis. Roy would never fully recover. The show closed that night. 13 years years, over in 30 seconds. Roy always maintained that Manticore wasn't attacking him. The tiger saw him stumble, saw him falling, and did what a mother tiger does with a cub. Grabbed him by the neck to carry him to safety. We'll never know for sure. Manticore died in 2014, age 17. Roy Horn died May 8th, 2020. COVID-19 complications, age 75. Siegfried Fischbacher died January 13th, 2021. Pancreatic cancer, age 81. They were cremated together. Their remains are in an undisclosed location somewhere in Nevada. Together, the way they spent their entire lives. The Mirage closed July 17th, 2024. The secret garden where the white tigers lived closed in 2022. The monument to Siegfried and Roy still stands near the hotel entrance. But the theater is dark, the tigers are gone, and the most legendary show in Vegas history is just a memory now. Here's what these 10 shows teach us. COVID killed productions that ran for decades. Corporations killed shows that made billions. Economics killed shows that critics loved. And time killed shows that defined entire eras. This year alone, ticket sales are down 15 to 20% across the board. Producers are calling it brutal. Shows are closing with 4 a.m. press releases. 18-year institutions are getting evicted so hotels can renovate. Vegas will tell you the show must go on. But these 10 shows prove something else. In Las Vegas, the show goes on until it doesn't. So here's my advice. If there's a Vegas show you've been meaning to see, don't wait. Jubilee fans thought 35 years meant forever. Beatles Love fans thought 18 years was enough. Siegfried and Roy fans thought nothing could stop them. The curtain always falls eventually. The only question is whether you'll be there before it does. What Vegas show would you be devastated to lose? Drop it in the comments, because somewhere right now, a theater is counting down to its final performance, and they're not telling anyone. Subscribe, because the next cancellation is already coming.